She was sold to America's most feared billionaire, but his unexpected love changed everything for. Jenny stood at the edge of her family's crumbling apartment in Chicago, staring out at the city that glittered under the twilight sky. Hope was slipping through her fingers like loose change. Every unexpected bill sent her heart racing. Just last week, her mother had panicked over an overdue medical expense, the kind that seemed small in a world of big problems. And now, the weight of her family's financial struggles pressed down on her like a 1,000-pound stone. She felt that storm cloud gathering, ready to burst. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. "I'll make it work." Yet, when tragedy struck and her family's debts spiraled into chaos, Jenny had no choice but to surrender to the impossible. She was sold into marriage to Hart Bennett, the ruthless billionaire feared by even the most hardened businessmen. This was no fairy tale. It was a deal shrouded in desperation. As she stood in her lavish new home, every corner screamed opulence, but no warmth touched her heart. The walls echoed with the chill of Hart's reputation, ruthless and commanding. She felt like a stranger in this extravagant cage, surrounded by riches that meant nothing without love. The first night with Hart was like stepping into a fine-tuned machine, all precision, no humility. Every word he spoke felt like a calculated strategy, a war tactic. She sensed there was more to him beneath that cold, steely exterior. A veteran burdened by memories that haunted him like shadows at dusk. Jenny, with her fiery spirit, couldn't stand idly by while her heart ached. She fought against his controlling nature. Days turned into weeks, and the rigid walls around their relationship began to crack when a local crisis surfaced impacting veterans in their community. The veterans who fought for their country now stood abandoned, battling their own demons. Jenny's heart, big as the city she loved, compelled her to act. With her family's values of service and sacrifice strong within her, she rallied the neighbors into a movement that was vibrant and full of hope. "We can't forget them," she cried out, leading the charge for aid. Seeing Jenny give herself so passionately ignited something deep within Hart, a fight against his own past and the isolation he had built around him. For the first time, he witnessed her radiance ignite a community, and the flickers of warmth he had long buried under the weight of ambition came to life. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As their community united, Jenny's hope clashed with Hart's unresolved guilt. The closer they became, the more his dark past loomed over them like a thunderstorm ready to break. Just when they began to find a rhythm together, an unforeseen betrayal shattered their fragile bond. Jenny questioned not only her Hart's place in this complicated world, but also if Hart could truly change. Standing at this crossroads, everything hung in the balance. Hart had to choose. Would he rise to embrace vulnerability and compassion in the face of adversity, or would he retreat back into his fortress of selfishness? The tension swelled. Love, forgiveness, and community all hung on the edge, waiting for the ultimate test. Could the man once seen as a foe transform into her greatest ally? And would Jenny find the strength to trust in a future woven together by two perfectly mismatched souls? The next day dawned with a heavy mist clinging to the city, as if the heavens were mourning the turmoil that had erupted between Jenny and Hart. In the early morning silence, Jenny's resolve hard as steel, but her heart felt like shattered glass. She picked up her phone, reviewing messages from the community. Excitement pulsed through her at the thought of their upcoming fundraiser for the veterans. But a lingering worry gnawed at her. Would Hart even back her now after everything that had happened? As the day wore on, she prepared for the meeting in their expansive home, a space that now felt more like a battleground than a sanctuary. She took a deep breath, trying to steady the fluttering in her chest. Whatever tensions had bubbled to the surface needed to be addressed. It was time to confront Hart and lay everything bare. When Hart entered the room, he wore the same aloof mask, but his eyes flickered with something akin to fear. Perhaps it was the fear of losing her. He ran his fingers through his dark hair, a gesture she had come to recognize as a sign of his agitation. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady as she faced him. His gaze softened for a fleeting moment, but it was gone before she could decode it. "About what, exactly?" he replied, his tone clipped, defensive. "About us. About this growing chasm between us." Jenny gestured around the magnificent yet cold room. "We can't do this. We can't run a fundraiser while hiding from each other." Hart inhaled sharply, the walls of his expression flickering like candlelight. "You think I'm hiding? You don't know what I've given up for this arrangement." "Arrangement?" She clenched her fists. "Is that how you see it? I thought this could be so much more, but you're clinging to your fortress like it's your only option." His eyes darkened momentarily. "You don't understand the world I live in. I can't just let go of everything. It's not that simple." Jenny's heart thudded against her ribcage, fear and anger mingling within her. "I didn't ask you to let go. I asked you to open up, to let me in. We can't achieve anything if you don't trust me." The words felt weighty as if they had been yanked out of her soul. For a long moment, silence enveloped them, thick and tangible. Hart's facade began to crack, and a flicker of vulnerability surfaced. "It's not that I don't want to trust you," he admitted quietly, his gaze falling to the floor. "It's that I don't know how." The spell of honesty hung in the air, heavy but hopeful. Jenny's heart softened. "Then teach me. Show me what it takes to help you heal. We can tackle your demons together." He finally met her gaze, the coldness replaced by a simmering intensity. "But what if I fail you? What if my past is too much? Then we'll face it together. You don't have to fight this alone anymore." Hart let out a harsh laugh, but it held a glimmer of something softer. "And what if I'm not the man you think I can be? Why can't you be?" She challenged gently. "You've already shown me kindness. We just need to peel back the layers." As hope sparked between them, a tremor of possibilities filled the air. The fundraiser loomed ahead, a chance to rally the city, to show Hart how love could transform even the darkest of pasts. But that moment of tenderness was soon interrupted by a sudden alert on Jenny's phone, an unsettling message that suggested danger loomed closer than they realized. What had she stepped into with Hart, and was she prepared to face the fallout? Jenny Hart's voice cut through the tension, and the urgency in his tone pulled her closer. "We need to figure this out now before it's too late." What lay ahead felt like a grenade close to detonation. Would they conquer the threats that awaited them? Or were their chances of happiness slipping away? Again? The air crackled with a tension that was hard to shake. Jenny could feel Hart's intensity radiating off him, pulling her in, but also pushing her away. The message she received buzzed like a persistent fly in her mind, refusing to settle. She glanced at her phone again, her heart racing. "Jenny," Hart urged, stepping forward, closing the distance between them. "Whatever it is, we can handle it. Together." His voice softened, a blend of determination and desperation. It was just like him, stoic but vulnerable. A reminder of the man she had begun to see beneath the layers of fortification. But her fear for what lay ahead overshadowed the warmth pooling in her chest. With a deep breath, she turned the phone around to face him. The message preview flashed ominously. "We know what you're planning with Hart. You think you're safe, but you're not." She swallowed hard, waiting for a reaction. Hart's brow furrowed, his expression shifting from concern to fury. "Who sent this?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "I'll find out who's behind this." "No, Hart. We can't just go off half-cocked. This could be anyone, someone wanting to scare us. We need to be smart about this." She watched his jaw tense, working through the anger that threatened to bubble over. A flicker of fear crossed his face, one she hadn't seen before. "You shouldn't have to deal with this. I brought you into this," he said, his voice cracking just a bit. "This is my fault." Jenny stepped closer, grabbing his arm, grounding him. "No, it's not. This is a community event we both believed in. We won't let anyone tear us apart. Let us focus on the fundraiser. We need it to succeed." He rubbed the back of his neck, visibly struggling with a weight only he understood. "What if they try to ruin everything we've worked for? What ifs won't save us, Hart?" She interjected before softening her tone. "We need to stay united. Focus on what matters. We can't give them that power." Hart looked into her eyes, reading the resolve there, the flickering light of hope. Together then, he said, though the uncertainty still shadowed his voice. Yes, together, she affirmed. We gather the community. Shine a light on the good we're doing. And make sure we're ready for whatever comes our way. As they exchanged a determined look, the connection felt electric. There was something about that moment, their unity against the unseen threats that bound them. But just as they began to form a plan, a heavy knock echoed through their home, jarring them both from their resolve. Jenny's stomach plummeted. Who could that be? Hart moved instinctively, his protective instincts kicking in. Stay behind me. He pivoted, and she could hear the tension in his breath. The door creaked open, revealing a figure from Hart's past, a man dressed in a sharp suit. His lips curled into a smirk. Funny running into you here, Hart. And you must be Jenny, he drawled, his eyes scanning Jenny with a mix of curiosity and malice. Hart's expression hardened instantly, a storm cloud rolling over his features. What do you want? The man chuckled, a low menacing sound. Just came to check on some old business. I think there's been a misunderstanding between us. Jenny's heart raced, terror and tension washing over her. Was this man connected to the message? To the threat looming over them? Tell me you're not involved in this, Hart hissed, stepping protectively in front of her. As the air thickened with uncertainty, Jenny felt the stakes rise higher than ever. With danger knocking at their door and old ghosts resurfacing, could they hold on to their fragile hope? Maybe it's time to settle some scores, don't you think? The man taunted, and Jenny's breath hitched in her throat. What fresh chaos had just entered their lives? Jenny's heart pounded against her ribcage, threatening to break free as the stranger's words hung in the air like a thick fog. The tension spiraled, wrapping tightly around her, making it hard to breathe. Hart stepped closer, his stance firm. I told you to stay away from us, Lucas, he growled, his voice low and loaded with venom. The name rolled off Hart's tongue like a curse, laced with history and resentment. Lucas's smirk widened, eyes glinting with malice. Oh, come now. You know I can't resist an old friend, especially when it looks like you've been busy building something special. I just dropped by to congratulate you and offer a little warning. Warning? Jenny's voice quivered, barely breaking through the tension as she struggled to keep pace with the looming threat. What sort of warning? Lucas took a casual step inside, his presence filling the room as if he owned it. The kind that reminds you of the consequences of stepping into waters that are too deep. You think you can take on the world with your little charity project? It's adorable, really. Hart's fists clenched at his sides, and she could see the resolve hardening in his posture. He was a coiled spring, ready to strike. She placed her hand on his arm again, a silent plea for calm. We don't want any trouble, she said, her voice steady, though inside, she felt like a tiny boat braving a storm. Lucas turned his gaze toward her, assessing her as if she were a puzzle to solve. Oh, but trouble seems to have found you already, sweet Jenny. You're swimming with sharks. Stop with the theatrics, Lucas, Hart snapped, cutting through the atmosphere filled with dark insinuations. We've cut ties. You're not welcome here. Is that so? Lucas leaned against the wall, unfazed. You two have no idea how naive you are. You can't protect your precious fundraiser from a shadow that looms over you. The message you received? That was just an appetizer. Feeling her courage dim in the face of his bravado, Jenny interrupted. What do you want? Why are you here? What's your game? His gaze flicked back to her, and without missing a beat he replied, to remind you that I have leverage. All I need to do is pull a few strings, and your little project will collapse like a house of cards. Don't you see? I'm the one in control. The sooner you accept that, the easier it will be for you. That settled heavily on Jenny's chest. She glanced at Hart, who seemed to be piecing together a plan in the back of his mind. You won't get away with this, he said, voice steady even as fury coursed through him. We'll finish what we started, and you can't manipulate us. Oh, Hart, you underestimate me, Lucas chuckled, the sound grating against her nerves. I've played this game long before you even learned the rules. But let us not make this a boring affair. What say you give me a call when you're ready to negotiate? With a theatrical flourish, he stepped back toward the door, casting one last look over his shoulder. But remember, my patience is limited, and I can be rather persuasive. As the rear door closed, an almost deafening silence filled the space between them. Jenny felt the air catch in her throat. What just happened? Hart's eyes, filled with an intensity that sent chills down her spine, left no uncertainty. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. Every second that passed thickened the air with dread. They had a plan, a mission, but now they faced an unexpected adversary who wasn't just a ghost from Hart's past, he was a living, breathing threat that loomed in the shadows. What do we do now? Jenny's voice barely rose above a whisper, the reality of their situation crashing down on her. Hart held her gaze, determination etched in his features. We fight back. But we need to be smart and quick. Just as she felt a glimmer of hope, her phone buzzed again. The screen flashed an unknown number. Anxiety clawed at her again as she picked it up, her heart racing at the sheer weight of the moment. She had a feeling that this call could change everything. As Jenny stared at the screen, her heart raced with dread. The unknown number felt ominous, a black cloud hanging over her. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever news awaited her. Should I answer it? She asked Hart, her voice laced with uncertainty. Hart nodded, an intensity burning in his eyes. Let us see what else Lucas has up his sleeve. She pressed the green button. The line ringing before a deep, smooth voice broke through the silence. Hello, Jenny. I believe we need to talk. Who is this? She managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. This is Malcolm. I have information that could be vital for you and Hart. Jenny exchanged a worried glance with Hart. Malcolm? She had never heard of him. Was he another one of Lucas's twisted pawns? Or did he genuinely want to help? Okay, I'm listening, she said cautiously, hoping to keep her anxiety in check. Lucas underestimated your commitment to the project. He thinks you're just some naive dreamer trying to make a difference, Malcolm continued, his tone surprisingly calm. But doesn't he realize how determined you both are? You're stronger than he gives you credit for. Those words felt like a bomb on her frazzled nerves. Maybe they had a chance after all. Fine, what do you know? Hart took over the conversation, his protective instincts clearly on high alert. There's a meeting tomorrow. A gala where most of the donors will be present, Malcolm said. Lucas will be there. If you can confront him in front of them, well. Let us just say you could change the narrative quickly. Jenny's heart raced at the thought. It was risky, standing up to Lucas in such a public setting, but the opportunity was appealing. And what do you get out of this? She asked, her voice firm. I'm not a fan of bullies. I've had my fair share of run-ins with Lucas. Helping you is a way to get back at him, Malcolm replied, his sincerity cutting through the tension. I'll be there too, to help you prepare. Okay, she said, glancing at Hart for reassurance. He nodded, conveying both trust and solidarity. Let us meet tonight, about an hour from now. There's a small diner on Washington Street. I'll explain everything then, Malcolm instructed. Got it, Jenny said, focusing on the upcoming confrontation. The fear that gripped her before began to ebb, replaced by a growing sense of purpose. After they hung up, Hart turned to her, his jaw tight with concern. You trust him? I don't know. But what choice do we have? Jenny replied, finding strength in their shared determination. We cannot let Lucas intimidate us. We need to take this chance. Then we'll do it together, Hart said, a fire igniting in his eyes. We'll show him we're not afraid. As they prepared to leave, the weight of their decision sank in. Jenny could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The stakes had never been higher, but deep down, the urge to stand up for their cause, for each other, ignited a hope she didn't know she had. We'll face him at the gala, and we need to be fully prepared, Hart said, his voice low and fierce. Do you think it will really work? She asked, the tremor of uncertainty creeping back. No, he said, surprising her. But it's something we have to try. As they stepped out into the cool evening air, Jenny could feel the weight of the challenge ahead of them. Their path was filled with uncertainty, but one truth lingered over her heart like a promise. They would fight for what mattered. Just as they reached the car, her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. This time, it felt even more urgent. She stared at it, contemplating whether to answer. With Lucas lurking and time slipping away, would this call bring hope or more trouble? Jenny hesitated. Her breath caught in her throat as she stared at the screen. The unknown number pulsed like a heartbeat, pulling her in and repelling her at the same time. She could almost hear the ticking clock in her mind, that relentless reminder that time was running out. Are you going to answer it? Hart's voice cut through her thoughts, filled with that familiar mix of concern and encouragement. Yeah, I need to know. She swiped the screen and held it to her ear. Hello. Jenny, the voice was deeper this time, tinged with a hint of urgency. It's Clara. I've got something you need to hear. Clara? Another twist in the already tangled web. Clara had been a colleague, a friend who had left the organization due to Lucas's oppressive rule. What could she possibly want now? Clara, tomorrow's gala isn't just about the donors, Clara interrupted, her voice rife with tension. Lucas has something else planned. You need to be prepared. An icy chill ran down Jenny's spine. What do you mean something else? There are whispers, Jenny. Rumors that he'll present a new project to the donors. This one involves a lot more than fundraising. He is attempting to solidify his control over everything you care about. If he presents it successfully, there's no going back. Why are you telling me this? Jenny asked, her mind racing. Was this another trap? Because I believe in what you are doing, Clara replied, her voice steady. I can't stand by and watch him crush dreams anymore. I want to help you. Jenny's heart swelled with unexpected gratitude, but fear clutched at her throat. What can we do? I'll gather some intel. Meet me in a quiet corner of the gala. I'll get you in, Clara said. But you need to trust me. I need to know you're safe, Jenny said, the anxiety creeping back. I'll be fine. Just promise me you'll keep your guard up. He is unpredictable, and you don't know who else is on his side. Okay, I promise, Jenny whispered, her mind made up. Thank you, Clara. After they hung up, Hart watched her closely. What did she say? She took a deep breath, nerves dancing in her stomach. Lucas is planning something big at the gala. We need to be prepared for more than just a confrontation. Great, just what we need, Hart said, his jaw set tight. We'll have to come up with a plan. I want to protect you. A plan is exactly what we need. She felt a spark ignite inside her, a mix of fear and determination. As they climbed into the car, Jenny shared her newfound knowledge. Hart listened intently, nodding intermittently as the weight of their predicament settled between them. We can't let him win, Hart, Jenny said, her voice gaining strength. We have to figure out how to derail whatever he has up his sleeve. Together, we'll figure it out, he replied, determination etched on his face. The air in the car buzzed with the electric tension of the looming confrontation. They drove in silence, but it was a silence charged with purpose. Once at the diner, they spotted Malcolm sitting in a booth, his cool demeanor contrasting sharply with the hot whirlpool of emotions Jenny was feeling. He waved them over, and as they approached, her mind tangled with questions. Ready for tonight? Malcolm asked, his eyes sharp and focused. We have to stay one step ahead of Lucas, Hart said bluntly. Malcolm smirked slightly. Then let's get down to business. There's more at stake tonight than you realize. Jenny glanced at both the men in her life. Suddenly, she wasn't just a dreamer. She was becoming a fighter. But doubt still loomed large in her mind. Could they really take on someone as powerful as Lucas? As the night unfolded, Jenny couldn't shake the feeling that even with all the support, they were walking straight into a storm. What else would Lucas unleash at the gala? And more importantly, would they come out alive? We'll make him regret underestimating us, she said, her heart pounding in her chest. The stakes were higher than ever. But as plans were laid and strategies discussed, the ominous feeling returned, tightening around her chest. No one had mentioned the shadows lurking beneath their hopes. What would happen when they finally faced Lucas? Would they be ready for the truth? The diner was starting to fill up with the clatter of silverware and low conversations, but Jenny felt like she was in a bubble, focused solely on the men before her. Each minute passed like a clock ticking down to their fate. Malcolm leaned forward, studying her with intensity. So we'll split up at the gala, he began, laying out the groundwork. I'll create a distraction during Lucas's presentation, while you two find Clara. Once you have the intel, we regroup. Jenny nodded, but the thought of splitting up terrified her. She shot a glance at Hart, who seemed just as uneasy. And if something goes wrong? If Lucas catches on? Malcolm dismissed her concern. If he catches on, then it's already too late. We can't walk in half-hearted. We have to own the night. The determination in Malcolm's voice made her shiver with a mixture of excitement and dread. Could they really own the night? All right, Hart said, his voice firm as he squeezed Jenny's hand. We need to trust each other, no matter what. And if things take a turn, we'll think on our feet. Jenny felt her heart swell with admiration for Hart's unwavering support. He wasn't just her partner. He was her rock. You're right, she said, drawing a deep breath. Trust is all we have. As they finalized their strategy, the atmosphere around them shifted. Shadows lurked in her mind, whispering doubts. She pictured Lucas's smirk, the way he thrived on intimidation. Just the thought made her pulse race. Did he know they could come for him? Did he see her as a threat yet? What if he anticipates our moves? Jenny murmured, the fear bubbling beneath her bravado. Then we make him pay for underestimating us, Hart said, his voice low and intense. It was a promise that sent warmth through her, but as she stared into his eyes, she saw the flicker of doubt. They both understood the risks. Malcolm interrupted her thoughts, clearing his throat. Look, I'll handle the distraction. That's my job. Just focus on getting to Clara, and finding out what she knows. Right, Jenny said, though her mind was a whirlpool of questions. Would Clara really be able to help? Was she a true ally? Or was it all part of Lucas's game? The clock kept ticking as they discussed minor details, but Jenny's heart was fixated on one truth. They were approaching a reckoning. She had never felt so alive, yet so terrified. After what felt like hours, they wrapped up their discussion, and Jenny stood to leave. Malcolm took a step back, gauging her resolve. Remember, Jenny. Stay sharp. Trust your instincts. Lucas will try to manipulate you. That's his game. He looked straight at her, and for once his nonchalance faded. But he doesn't know you like I do. You've got this. She felt a surge of confidence at his words, wanting to believe it as deeply as she could. I will not let him take anything away from me. Not again. They exited the diner, and the cool night air bit at her skin. Hart fell into step beside her, his shoulder brushing against hers. Are you all right? He asked, concern evident in his voice. Yeah, I'll be fine, she replied, forcing a smile despite the anxiety gnawing at her heart. Just thinking about the gala. Hang in there. We'll face it together. But deep within, Jenny wondered about the forces colliding that night. Would trust be enough? When they stood against Lucas, what hidden truths would surface? As their car approached the venue, the gala lights glittered in the distance like stars, beautiful and terrifying. Would those lights illuminate their victory, or would they shroud them in darkness? As they parked and walked toward the grand entrance, she couldn't shake the sensation that they were on the brink of something monumental. Whatever happens, we stand together, she whispered to herself, as Hart placed a reassuring hand on her back. Yet, just ahead, a figure moved in the shadows, watching them with keen interest, igniting the questions burning inside her. Who else was waiting in the wings? And would they take their side, or aid Lucas's sinister ambition? Jenny's pulse quickened as they approached the gala, the warmth of Hart's hand on her back grounding her just a bit. The echo of their footsteps blended with the soft rustling of evening dresses and crisp tuxedos, creating a symphony of anticipation. The air was electric, charged with possibilities, but also suffocating with anxieties they couldn't shake off. Do you see her? Hart scanned the crowd, squinting around the sea of glittering fabric and polished shoes. Clara? Jenny shook her head. Her heart pounded louder than the music pulsing from inside. No, not yet. She could be anywhere. The venue was extravagant, gleaming chandeliers hung like jewels from the ceiling, bathing everyone in a warm glow. A maze of rich colors danced before her, each shade more vibrant than the last. And there was Lucas across the room, holding court like a king. The way he commanded the space gave her chills. It felt as if just looking at him could draw the attention of his seething paranoia. Stay close, Hart instructed, squeezing her hand briefly before they moved deeper into the throng. As they navigated through guests, Jenny's instincts heightened. She sensed the people glancing at them not with warm smiles or inquisitive looks, but with that predatory curiosity. Like fish in a school, they seemed to be waiting for something to happen. It made her heart race even faster. Then, just as they reached an open space, Jenny caught a glimpse of Clara's petite figure moving toward a side door. There! She exclaimed, pointing urgently. Clara looked different amidst the glamour. A storm of determination beneath her poised exterior. Without hesitation, Jenny and Hart approached. "Clara!" Jenny called out, trying to bridge the distance. The woman turned, her eyes wide with recognition. "Get over here," Clara whispered fiercely, her voice barely above the din. She gestured for them to follow as she slipped through the door. Jenny exchanged a glance with Hart, and with a nod, they trailed behind Clara, who seemed to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. The corridor was dimly lit, a stark contrast to the dazzling lights outside. Clara's urgency was palpable. "Lucas knows more than he's letting on," she blurted as soon as they stepped inside a quiet room. "I overheard him with some associates. They've got plans." "What kind of plans?" Jenny asked, leaning forward. The fear she had before was now replaced by a burning determination. Clara's voice lowered, the urgency in her eyes intensifying. "Plans that could change everything. He's looking to break his own ties with his past. There's something he wants, and it's not just more power. It's personal." "What does that even mean?" Hart pressed, his brows furrowing. Before Clara could respond, a loud crash echoed from the ballroom, startling them. What was that? Jenny's heart raced. The celebration outside turned chaotic, laughter replaced with gasps and shouts. "I think we've stirred the pot," Clara warned. "We need to move." But Jenny hesitated. An internal struggle brewed between fear and defiance. "If we find out what Lucas wants, if we can get the intel," she could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, pushing her closer to the edge of taking action. "There's no time," Hart insisted, tugging at her arm. But the conflict within her was becoming unbearable. What if we're in over our heads? Jenny thought, remembering Malcolm's words about confidence. Maybe this is the moment to confront him properly. Just then, Lucas appeared in the doorway, eyes locked on them with a predatory glint. The force of his stare chilled her to the bone, and she could feel the collective tension surge through the air. "You really shouldn't have come here," he said with a smirk that sent a shiver down her spine. Jenny's heart hammered in her chest as she braced herself for whatever was about to unfold. Were they ready to face him? And in that pulse, she realized something deep within the night was just beginning. But at what cost would they uncover the secrets that lurked in shadows? The answers lay somewhere in the chaos about to unravel. And she knew their true test was just around the corner. Would they be strong enough to survive it together? Lucas stepped fully into the room, the tension thickening as he closed the distance between them. Jenny caught a glimpse of his polished shoes before her gaze shot back to his eyes, cold and calculating. "What's this?" he asked, his tone teasing yet threatening. "A little meeting of the minds?" "We're not afraid of you," Clara asserted, her chin lifting defiantly. It was brave, but Jenny could hear the tremor in her voice. It was the bravado of someone standing on the edge of a cliff, wind howling around her. "Foolishness can be endearing," Lucas replied, his smile a chilling mask. "But it can also be fatal." He took a step closer, his presence overwhelming. Jenny felt her pulse quicken, each beat a reminder of the danger they were in. Hart stepped forward, blocking Lucas's approach. "What do you want, Lucas? If you plan to keep people in the dark, then at least let us in on your games." His voice was steady, but Jenny could sense his fear bubbling just under the surface. "The truth is, it's not your game to play," Lucas sneered. "But if you want a taste, I can give you that. I'll hand you the pieces, and you can see how it all fits together." He gestured as though weaving an intricate tapestry. "But be warned, once you see, there's no unseeing." Jenny clenched her jaw, anger igniting within her. "We won't be pawns in your game, Lucas. If you're hiding something, we'll find out what it is." Her voice quivered, but she stood rooted, defiant against the intimidating force before her. Lucas laughed, a sharp sound that cut through the air like glass breaking. "You have fire, Jenny. I can appreciate that." He leaned in slightly, studying her face with unsettling intensity. "But fire can burn. Do you really want to play this game?" The crash from earlier echoed in her mind. What chaos awaited them beyond this room? But part of her felt a thrill at the thought of confronting him, of standing her ground against someone who thrived on fear. In that moment, Clara stepped in with renewed conviction. "You don't scare us, Lucas. Not anymore. We know you're hiding something personal, something that makes everything you're doing right now mean something to you." Lucas's expression shifted, a flicker of something unguarded slipping through. And you think you can unpack my life's burdens like they're a puzzle? There was a slight shimmer in his cold gaze, a crack in the steel facade. Yes, Jenny interjected, emboldened by Clara's words. We're not just going to let you walk all over us. If you have this past you're trying to outrun, we'll walk with you. But we need answers. The atmosphere swirled with a mix of ferocity and vulnerability. Lucas hesitated, momentarily thrown off guard by the challenge in their eyes. The tension between them buzzed like electricity. There was a flicker of something unreadable in his expression. Something that hinted at a deeper story he wasn't ready to let go of. But before Jenny could fully decipher it, the chaos from the ballroom spilled louder into the hallway. Now look what you've done, Lucas growled, snapping back into character, all charm wiped away as reality pressed in. You've rattled the cage, and now everyone's awake. Clara turned, urgency threading through her voice. We need to get out of here. We can deal with him later, figure out what he wants. But Jenny couldn't shake the feeling that their confrontation was just beginning. They were caught in a web far more tangled than she'd ever imagined. The door behind them loomed like a portal into chaos, and the thought of fleeing felt just as daunting as facing Lucas. Are you ready for this? Hart asked, searching her face for a sign of certainty. Her heart raced. The night hadn't just started, it was hurtling towards something intense, something that would change everything. No, she whispered, but I don't think we have a choice. With a sharp breath, they faced the door together. Would they just run into the storm, or would they stand firm against the darkness they were about to step into? As they pushed through, Jenny felt a resolve forming within her that ignited her spirit. Whatever happened next, she was ready to fight for the truth. What would they find waiting in the tumult? Jenny's heart drummed in her chest as they burst back into the gala, the chaos swirling like a tempest around them. The music screeched to a halt, and startled faces turned to stare at them, a mixture of confusion and fear lighting up their features. The tension was palpable, the air thick with uncertainty. Stay close, Hart instructed, positioning himself protectively beside her. She could feel the heat radiating from him, his presence steadying her as they navigated through the fray. Lucy's sudden entrance had pulled the spotlight away from Lucas, and for that fleeting moment, Jenny couldn't help but catch her breath. Above the crowd, she spotted Clara gesturing wildly, urging them to join her. They maneuvered past tables where uneaten hors d'oeuvres lay neglected, the scents mingling in an almost surreal contrast to the palpable tension. Jenny's adrenaline spiked with every uncertain glance they exchanged between her, Hart, and Clara. An unspoken agreement to confront the truth. The back room, Clara urged, weaving through the throngs of startled guests. Hart followed closely behind, his hand firm on Jenny's back. They slipped into a quieter hall, taking a moment to gather their bearings. What are we going to do now? Jenny asked, her voice low but urgent. She glanced between Clara and Hart, their silhouettes sharp against the flickering lights from the main area. We need more intel on his plans, Clara suggested, her gaze flickering to the ballroom, where muffled shouts and sound began to ripple through the air. If we can get close enough to hear him. But before she could finish, Lucas's unmistakable voice pierced through the din, echoing their way. Ladies and gentlemen, I have something I'd like to announce. His tone oozed with the same confidence that had made him a powerhouse. Jenny's stomach clenched at the sound. What's he doing? Whatever it is, it can't be good, Hart warned, determination fierce in his eyes. We need to move now. As they leaned in, the laughter and applause merged into an unsettling buzz, fueling her anxiety. They had to figure this out, and they had to do it fast. Jenny, Clara's voice snapped her focus. I know we've got our doubts, but we have to trust each other. If we're going to confront him, we need to be united. You're the heart of this movement. Those words rang true, pulling at the strings deep inside her. You're right, she said, taking a deep breath. We've fought tooth and nail to be here. I refuse to let him dictate what happens next. Clara nodded, a spark of hope igniting between them. That's the spirit. We'll turn this around. Let us prep for what he's about to say. See if we can find anything useful in his reveal. As they retreated closer to the grander part of the gala, hidden among towering columns and intricate decorations, The three formed a tight circle, brainstorming their next move. Just then, Hart caught Jenny's eye, determination flickering in his expression. Whatever happens, we stand together. If it gets too rough, just follow my lead. In our corner, always, Jenny replied, feeling more empowered than ever. With this bond forged against all odds, she knew they'd be stronger as one. Lucas began his speech. The crowd hushed in anticipation. I have an incredible announcement for all our patrons tonight, he announced, his voice silk over stone. I am proud to introduce a new initiative that will change our community. What is he going to twist into his favor this time? Clara hissed, clenching her fists at her sides. All the charity events will be funneled through my new foundation. Lucas continued. This project will expand our reach and further benefit the very same veterans we've come to support. A murmur of confusion arose. A ripple of chaotic reactions flowing through the room. Does he really think this will win them over? Jenny whispered, her heart racing as doubt slid in. Only if they don't see that he's just trying to strong-arm them, Clara replied, eyes narrowed. But he has got a point. He is right about wanting to assist veterans, Hart admitted, tone contemplative and measured. But this isn't just support, it's a takeover. As the crowd began to buzz with intrigue and unease, Jenny felt the weight of what could be. Lucas shot a glance toward their hidden corner, and Jenny felt her breath hitch. Did he suspect them? The smile on his face faltered slightly as he addressed the audience, his eyes narrowing like a predator spotting prey. What I will say is that there are forces working against us, forces that want to see our good intentions fail. The crowd responded with murmurs of agreement, and she could see the sway of emotion gripping them. As Lucas patted his words with empathy, Jenny realized they had to act now, before his narrative ensnared them all deeper into his web. Clara, Hart, we can't let him manipulate the truth, she stated, adrenaline surging through her. Let us expose him for who he really is. Together, Clara affirmed, surprising Jenny with the zeal in her voice. Just as Jenny stepped forward, the lights shifted, cascading across the crowd like streamed metal. In that moment of ethereal clarity, something shifted deep within her. It was now or never. As she cleared her throat, poised with conviction, a voice thundered above the crowd. Lucas, we need to talk about the real motives behind this foundation. The room went silent. She hadn't meant for it to be so loud, but the courage inside her surged, driving her voice higher. A collective gasp echoed from the onlookers, hearts pumping with anticipation. Lucas turned his head, eyes flashing like daggers. And who might you be to question my operations? A mere bystander? No, Lucas. I'm someone who doesn't stand idly by while you manipulate those around you. The murmur of agreement spread through the crowd, rippling like wildfire. You dare? Lucas sneered, but she could see the crack in his armor starting to show. Yes, I do, Jenny replied, heart racing with defiance. We're here for the veterans you claim to support. But your real agenda threatens everyone who believes in compassion. You're using this initiative to solidify your control, and I'm not letting you take anything more from us. Gasps rippled through the crowd, some eyes widening with realization, others narrowed in doubt. It was a gamble, a risk that could either smash through his fortress of intimidation or reinforce it. Lucas's expression twisted with fury as he took a step forward. You think you can challenge me? You have no idea who you're dealing with. No, but I know who I want to be, Jenny declared, voice steady as steel. I am fighting for something greater than ambition, something that embodies courage. The power behind her words built with momentum. And if the community sees through your mask, then hope can triumph. Our fight isn't over. As she delivered the last words, she saw Clara's and Hart's support radiant behind her, visible and alive. Together we pave the foundation for support, love and care, and nothing you do will tear it down. We will rise beyond any shadow you cast. Lucas recoiled, the room pulsating with tension as more eyes turned against him. His carefully curated image was beginning to falter, like a house of cards swaying under strong winds. You're a fool, he shouted, but the uncertainty in his eyes spoke volumes. No, I'm a survivor, Jenny retorted, fear transformed into resolute fire. Clara stepped alongside her, strength pooling more from their collective resolve. Together we stand. You can't win by breaking our spirit. Come what may, we will fight back. as supporters erupted in shouts of unity. The world seemed to tilt upside down. This was the moment they had been waiting for. Would it be enough to push back against the darkness? Would they emerge victorious against a formidable foe who had made manipulation an art form? In the eye of that storm, Jenny felt more alive than ever. Whatever happened next, whether joy or pain, was a testament to their resolve, and she vowed to give it her all. The crowd's faces, still stormy with emotion, lifted the weight off her shoulders. She realized the real battle wasn't just against Lucas. It was against fear and despair. Their voices melded into a chorus of resistance, crashing against him like waves against cliffs. This was more than just a fight. It was a powerful movement springing from resilience, fueled not by anger, but by hope. As the last echo of Lucas's threats faded into a sea of unity, Jenny thought, today could be the day they could take back their narrative. And as the gala spun in tumultuous change, she would fervently fight until the very last breath. They were ready for battle. They were ready to triumph. Now, before you go, listen up. This is your moment to be part of something bigger. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Hit that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. We want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about how Jenny stood up to Lucas. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Show your support, because only true fans know how important it is to uplift our community.